Alright, back with this Grundig 2012. I haven't been able to do a video catch up. It's been a while since the last one I uploaded on this radio because it's been too bloody hot. It's so hot down here where I live, and in the workshop here, Jesus, it gets hotter than a hemorrhoid in here. So it's nice and cool today. So I thought I'd film this. So anyway, the first thing I better straighten out is the switches. Now, I thought this thing had 2 AM, 2 FM, 1 phono. That's incorrect. I don't know how I got it wrong. I must have typed in the wrong model number. It's the only thing I think of, what I did wrong. Or I'm mentally defective. I don't know. But anyway, the correct bands for this radio is that is off. Any of these switches here will turn the radio on. So what we've got is shortwave, FM, long wave, AM, UHF. So I just thought I'd let you know about that. Now, got a little bit to discuss about this radio. Now, when I first, as you saw in the first video for this, I powered this thing up and it was working, but not well. The AM was much, much better than the FM. Even though the AM wasn't that good, the FM, I had the volume turned up flat out and you could barely hear it. It was, really bad. Really bad. So anyway, I've recapped it and everything. I will just show you underneath actually, before we turn this thing on, what I've done. Hang on. Alright, so now, here we go. Alright, now, as you can see, I've been using, like I said in one of my other videos, I'm going to start using more of these ceramic disc capacitors, right? And as you can see, there's here, over here, up here, here, along the side here, down there. Now I know what some of you are thinking, or you hardliners, you're probably thinking, nine, very bad, Achtung. Been a German radio, I thought I'd throw that in. But there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. Now, I've replaced all the waxy capacitors, bar this one. The reason why I haven't replaced that is I don't have one. It's 5,000 picofarads, which is what, 0.005 microfarads. So I'm going to have to order them, and I haven't replaced this electrolytic just down in there. It's just off the cathode, so I'm not really worried about that. Now, I did rewire this I-tube. It was set up for EM35 or EM34, pretty much the same. I've wired it up to take I got a bunch of Russian, a bunch of Russian tubes. I think they're 6E5S's, so I've rewired it for that. Now, I did test I haven't got the I-tube in now because when I move the radio around, bangs around, I don't want to fuck up the I-tube. It was working on AM, the shadow. It was opening and closing. On FM it wasn't. So if there's this wire here, the green one, is the grid, and it comes over to here, just there. So this, and up over the top here, then this, for the AM, it ventures off over here into the AVC, but for the FM, there's a wire there, comes around, comes in there, goes to this resistor here, goes under, goes through another resistor, comes out in here. Now that's going to the discriminator. This resistor that was here, it was a 2 meg, was faulty, and that's why the I-tube wasn't opening and closing. So I fixed that. Now, this capacitor here, that's the what do you call it? Jesus, coupling capacitor. Now I tested the coupling capacitor, just the voltage on either side. before I changed it. Now on this side, which is where it goes into the... What? Hang on, sorry, pause. Sorry about that. I checked the voltage on this side, where it goes into the grid of the output tube. It was leaking 22.3 volts DC into the grid of the output tube. Unacceptable. So I just thought I'd let you know. So I changed that, and I tested all the other resistors. I had to replace one there, and none there, but I had to replace, you can see I've got a green meanie here, I call them green meanies. Another one there, up there, this big thing here. Other than that, and some in there, other than that, it's fine. Now there's the filter caps. The chassis mounted capacitor, which was 50 microfarads each, there were two. I replaced with 247s, and I just got them tucked away in there real nice, as you can see. Right, so that's that part done. So if we turn this radio over, hopefully it doesn't fall down. Right, now I did take the speaker out of the radio, put it in, hooked up this. I can't remember what they call these tweeters, but they're high voltage. That's the wire for it, and then the other one connects over to here. So that's all hooked up. And I had to replace these capacitors up here with, these were 0.05s, I replaced them with 0.047s as usual. Now I'll just turn on this radio. What if I got it on AM? Yeah, leave it on AM, and I'll show you, there goes the dim bulb, no problems. Now we'll flick it over to full power, take the dim bulb off, and we'll just tune this thing in. As soon as it comes up. Right, here it comes. So let's go. There's 1 AM.
To 53. It's a 6.5 kilo turnaround, so for that reason, as you draw better, I'm going to lean the way of electronics.
That's 2UE.
A massive turnaround up the road.
Now here's the bass treble.
The ship is going great.
Hear it?
Cosmo Centaurus likewise. I just niggle with the lift. I just wonder whether it was better.
Right,
1200 metre
much better, much better. Now let's go over to FM. Now this is where I've got an issue. Now, like I said, I could barely hear the FM, so I know there's a station down here somehow. You hear that? Hear it, it's distorted. Hear it? That is FM, but that's 2ST, which is a local FM station, but it's distorted. Even that's distorted. That's ABC. So the FM's working perfectly as far as loudness goes. That's about a quarter. That's quarter. So it's before it was flat out. So I think there's a problem. Let me just turn this off. So there's some other problem with this. And what I suspect it is this tube here. This one here. Now that, if we look at the circuit diagram, is that tube there. It's a EABC80. Now it's got 2 cathodes. So where it's positioned with this output tube, that'll be a detector for AM and FM, but I'm not sure what else. I haven't looked up this tube. So I'm going to have to look up this tube anyway for a start, because the EABC80s or any of these British tubes I can't test, but this might have an equivalent in the American style, like, you know, with a like 6M5 or, you know, 6AQ6 or something like that, but they might have one, and then I might be able to test this tube. So I'm going to pause, try and get some tube data, find out if there's an equivalent I can use, and then we'll run a test. I'll get my tube, if I can. If not, I'll have to, the only way I can do it is to test voltages on all the pins. But I think there's something going on with that tube, but I'm not sure. So I'm just going to pause. Alright, back again. I've looked up the info on that tube. It does have an exact equivalent. It's a 6AK8. Now, and that tube is a triple diode triode. So two of the diodes use one cathode, and the other diode uses the other cathode. And it is an AM FM detector. So one diode does AM, two diodes does the FM, and the triode is an FM amplifier. So I've got it in my little tube tester here, as you can see. Let me just swing my leg around. Oof, Jesus. Right, there it is there, the little tube tester. Now I'll just look this up. 6AK8. Let's have a look here. 6AK8. Now we're in the 5s there. Hopefully 6AK8. So I think there might be 3 tests to run on this tube. 6AQ, 6AB, 6AK8, there we go, let's see, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 3 tests. So there's 3 tests to run. So all switches down bar 4. All switches down bar 4. And the first test says to do 6AK8, load is 100, filament is D, yep, and switch number E, which is 2. Is it 2? So we've got 200, 130, right. So first test is switch 2 to P. So switch 2 to P. Nope, P. Turn this thing on. Red light's on. Give it a bit to warm up. And load is 100, yes. So we'll just wait. And what's the next one after that? The next one is 6, then 8. Okay. Alright, so let me just turn this up, see if that tube's heated up. Yeah, it looks heated up to me. Alright, let's have a look. Alright, we'll run the test. Pressing the button, see, test. Nothing. It's dead. Now I've got the suspicion that because the detectors have to be working in this for both AM and FM because I'm getting it. So I suspect that the triode section of this tube isn't working, which might account for the distortion. Alright, so what was the next one? 6? Button 6? Switch 6? 6K8, yeah, 6 load 100. So the load remains the same, 2 comes down, 6 goes to P, and let's see, press test. So it's good. So that section's good, so 6 down, and then what's the next button? Next button is 8, load 30. So load 30, switch 8 to P. So it's good as well. Okay. So 2 sections are working. one's not, and I think it's the amplifier section of this tube. So, alright, so I'm going to have to order one of these. So, like I said, the radio is working, but not properly. It's alright on the AM, but the FM we've got problems. Alright, so let me just put this tube back in. Now I've still got to clean up, like that's all filthy and these switches are filthy. But I gave these a really, really good clean and a lot of guns came out. I'll just flip it over. Let me just turn this off, it doesn't have to be on. And I'll just flip it over. Now you can see some of the guns that I haven't wiped off. I left it there on purpose up here, see? That's some of the shit that came out of this thing. So, and they're all working properly now, so I'm happy about that. I don't have to take them apart. Alright, so what I'm going to do is leave this video as it is. I'm going to order in that tube, and I've got to buy some more disc capacitors as well, and a few resistors. And then when I get the new tube, I might buy a couple of it, we'll run another test and we'll see if that makes a difference. If it's still distorted, there's something else going on, and I'll have to trace it all through, checking voltages, resistances, all that sort of business. Alright, I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll see you in the next vid. Alright, see you guys.